The tomcat certainly wasn't a beautiful sight to behold. He had a malformed and skinny body. Because of his appearance, the residents avoided him and warned their children to stay away from him. Ugly's a striped dark gray tabby cat. The poor feline had only one eye, and he also had countless injuries that are enough to make most onlookers squirm. For instance, Ugly was also missing an ear, and in place of his tail, the cat had but a sorry-looking stump. Perhaps most serious of his injuries was a broken, mangled foot, but it healed funnily, and this problem made it difficult for Ugly to walk. Although people hated him, Ugly could nonetheless be a surprisingly loving creature. He never fought back against the cruelty he encountered. Instead, he took an opportunity to make a new friend. If people threw things at him, rather than hissing and snarling, he'd approach their feet and beg for forgiveness. He'd always try to play with children by rubbing his head against them. Ugly loved cuddles. Whatever people did to him, he'd show his affection by curling up and nibbling pieces of clothing, jewelry, and anything his teeth could reach. One day, Ugly found himself in a very bad situation involving a group of huskies who lived in the same apartment complex. He seemingly just wanted to be their friend, but the dogs started attacking him and barking at him. Luckily, a man heard the commotion, so he stood up for Ugly. The man said, "From my apartment, I heard his screams and yowls. I rushed to his aid. I found Ugly in a terrible situation, lying in a pool of his blood with his body twisted and mauled. It looked like Ugly was about to take his last breath, yet I refused to leave him in such a bad condition, so I lifted his body up. As I picked him up and tried to carry him home, I could hear him wheezing and gasping and could feel him struggling. I didn't know that Ugly was an affectionate animal, so what happened next really shocked me. Ugly cried. Even in that situation, Ugly rubbed his head against my hand. Finally, Ugly would find some love. At that moment, I thought Ugly was the most beautiful, loving creature I'd ever seen. He never tried to bite or scratch me or even try to get away from me. We shared a special bond. Ugly just looked up at me, completely trusting in me to relieve his pain. But unfortunately, this wasn't enough to save him. Ugly died in my arms before I reached my apartment. Once home, I sat down looking at him. I wasn't quite ready to let Ugly go, so I held on to him for a while. The neighbor reflected on what had just happened. He thought about how a deformed cat could alter his opinion about what it means to have a loving and tender heart despite an ugly appearance. Maybe for the first time in his life, Ugly positively impacted someone's life. Speaking fondly about the departed tomcat, the man said, "Ugly taught me more about compassion than 1,000 books, lectures, or talk shows ever could, and for that I'll always be thankful." Ugly may have faced extreme hardship and pain, but he finally found what he'd always been looking for, a loving and caring friend. Undoubtedly, it is a beautiful story. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our latest uploads.